Hi, and welcome. I'm Tara Davis with the Relationship Playbook for Marriage. So, recently I've been being interviewed on several different podcasts, and the topic that we keep coming back to that I really wanted to start talking about today are these four common false beliefs that we have that continue to play out in the background of our lives. I learned these four false beliefs from an incredible business coach, and they resonated at the time for so many different reasons. I had heard them previously, and they just didn't land. For some reason, for whatever reason, they really landed this time, and I've been using them in my own life to see where they're playing out. And I've been using them also looking around and just observing other people's lives to see where are these playing out? How are these four false beliefs playing out in other people's lives? And how can I best support you in seeing these false beliefs, recognizing them, and shifting them? So here are the four false beliefs, and I'm going to talk about each one of them, but I'm really going to focus on one today. So the first one is, I'm helpless. The second one is, I'm not good enough or I'm not smart enough. The third one is, I'm not lovable. And the fourth one is, I'm not safe. So just a brief explanation on each one. I'm helpless. Like, I can't do anything for myself. I don't know how to do that. I can't do this. Like, this is running in the background of our mind that then filters our whole life. I'm not smart enough and I'm not good enough. That one is so big for us. We don't reach out or branch out or take risks because we think we aren't good enough or we're not smart enough. I'm not lovable, and that's the one we're going to touch on today. So let's just really quick. The other one is, I'm not safe. And that could literally be from being in a physically unsafe environment that we grew up in, and now we have it running in the background of our mind, almost a paranoia and a continuum of being on guard, right? So these four false beliefs play out in every area of our life until we know how to start looking for them. So let me just share briefly, I'm not lovable, and how that showed up in my life. So I grew up in a family of six. There were four of us kids, and all four of us siblings went to private school. So that was in the 70s and early 80s. And so my mom didn't work. She was completely at home caring for all of us. My father worked. He was the breadwinner and worked several jobs. And so he was never home. He was always working. In my mind, I interpreted that as, I'm not lovable, because he wasn't home to give me love, to play with me, to do all these fun things. When I look back at it now, as an adult, I can completely see what his intention was. That's where we all were at the time, right? So his intention was, I need to make all this money. We're sending our kids to private school. We need to put food on the table. I've got to work. My mind interpreted it as, I'm not lovable. And of course, as a 5-year-old, this is not what I'm thinking, but it's what I'm processing. And so throughout my life then, I would look for relationships for two reasons. One was to support my false belief that I'm unlovable. And the second one was to find love. Like, my dating days were insane. I looked for, again, relationships from guy to guy to guy going, are you going to love me? Oh, do you love me? Oh, maybe you're the one. Maybe you're the one that's going to love me. And then the flip side of that was that I would look for these guys and these relationships to support the place where I thought I was unlovable. So none of these relationships in my dating realm were even healthy. They were all chaotic. Some could have been verbally abusive. They were nuts because I was supporting that belief in the background that said, I'm unlovable. So my dating was crazy. I mean, I just kept looking for all these people to see, are you going to love me? Am I the one that you're going to love? Am I lovable? So that played out for me as that false belief that I'm unlovable. It can also continually play out in your marriage, in our relationships at work, in our relationships with our children. And so when we're finally able to identify one of these four core false beliefs, when we're able to identify it and start recognizing it, that's when we are able to make the shift. So for me, I'm not sure exactly when it happened that I realized this was my pattern. I mean, it was way through my adulthood, my adult life, that I started realizing that this pattern of men that I had way behind me, that I dated and lived with and, almost married, like all of these guys were crazy for me. Like, looking back thinking this was supporting who I thought I was. I thought I was not lovable. I also thought I wasn't good enough. That's a whole nother story. And so I brought in situations to support so many different false beliefs of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not lovable. And so when we wake up to these false beliefs that we have running in the background, like a ticker tape, like a leaderboard that's just running in the background of our mind, when we wake up, then we can start shifting the patterns. Then we get to start re-imprinting our neural pathways with new beliefs. Then we get to start shifting our activity and how we show up for ourselves and how we show up in life to retrain ourselves to learn and believe I am lovable, I am smart, I am worthy. This has been such a transformational journey to really tap into these four core false beliefs. I would love to hear if you are waking up and realizing that some of these might be playing out in your life. They might have played out previously in several different ways in your life. I mean, sometimes we show up when we think we aren't worthy. We don't really risk it and go for that job that we want because we think, I'm just not smart enough. When in fact, we probably learned that from a teacher or from society or from culture that for whatever reason showed us we thought that we weren't smart enough. I invite you to check in and see where these four core false beliefs might be playing out for you in your love life, in your relationships with your children, with your partner, in your work relationships. How are they showing up for you? Are you ready to shift them? Woo! See you next week.